Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, my name is Cheong and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Because of our culture and our media, many of us today are at war with our bodies and our body image. We're too fat, too thin, too saggy, too wrinkly, too big, too small, too something. Today we're going to talk about how to come to peace with our bodies and our body image so we can stop abusing and punishing ourselves and even come to a place of gratitude for them and come to have more presence in them. So let's jump right in. Dennis?
I think for many folks, Karen, that one of their big challenges is truly accepting themselves and really being at peace with themselves. And I think a lot of that has to do with just that image, my body, how I perceive I look, how I, talk, what people think of me. And so that whole imaging thing is really quite a challenge. Is there something when folks come to you, is there anything you can do to help with something like that?
Yeah. So body image is a very complicated thing in a way because it's a result of a lot of distortion patterns. And so I can answer it broadly, but it's going to be really, like everything, it's specific to you as an individual. Yeah. There is so much self-loathing right now with people in their bodies, especially for, it's both men and women. So people really hate the way they look. And it's the reason that the hatred is coming or the self-loathing is coming is because it's in relation to something external. So there's a portrayal in the media of one beauty type, right? Whatever, we all know what that beauty stereotype is, of the body that's quote unquote the perfect body. And the challenge with that body type is that it often isn't what most bodies look like. And so it becomes very difficult to attain, and then it becomes this thing that we're always striving for and failing against. So it's a number of things that comprise the self-loathing. So it can be the distortion pattern of failure. It could be that of low self-worth, which is the biggest thing. So the low self-worth thing is especially for women or young women or girls, that's one of the hardest things because they're in this, it really is non-deserving and low self-worth for many of the people I work with. Yeah. That's often what it tends to be. So it's a tough one.
As I visit with folks, something that I hear quite often is that at a very tender age, when they're in grade school or just in the development stages as they go through life, somebody says something and it just kind of basically destroys who they are as far as their looks or their intelligence or just how they're perceived by people. And I'm always amazed that something said at a very tender age can have that large of an impact. But if that happened to someone, is there anything you can do with that?
Yeah. So, yes. So I'm going to reverse what you said.
Okay.
Because it sounds like the cause is the wounding, like the act is the wounding. Does that make sense? So someone said something that caused the wounding that ripples through your life. It's actually it comes from a different level. So because one runs these frequency patterns, usually from lineage of low self-worth or struggle or self-loathing or self-sabotage or whatever it is, yes? Then what happens is that distortion pattern is running and it will cause something in your reality to embody that, to trigger it.
Trigger it.
So it's not even trigger it, it's just become it. To create it more in your world.
Wow.
So because the frequency pattern is running, the physical has to conform to the frequency pattern. So you're running that through your field. When you're 3 or 4 or 5, you don't know what's running through your field. It's just running through your field. And so, but the reality that comes around you is a result of those frequency patterns. So that quote unquote wounding, which it is, I'm not saying quote unquote as if to belittle it, because it's a wounding, but it shows up as a result of the frequency patterns. And it will show up over and over and over and over again in that person's life. So whether it's like, so if it's a young girl or boy, it doesn't matter, at 4, and they're told that they're kind of heavy, right? Like heavy compared to the other kids, that they're told, they're teased because they're fat, right? As they grow up, it might happen more and more, from their peers, from outside people. Maybe their coach tells them they need to lose some weight, whatever it is. So it comes from different people and is reinforced in their lives as they get older, and the frequency becomes more entrenched. And then it's interesting because then they start to believe that's the way the world is. Like, I'm fat, I suck, I'm a failure, whatever. That starts to reinforce. So it's this pattern that starts to perpetuate until you can remove it or break it away.
So I think I understand exactly what you're saying. So the pattern is there.
Yeah.
And so it might not have been the words that were said, but it's just that I have that pattern.
Yes.
And all of a sudden it's triggered. And so maybe it's triggered at the age of 7, and then all of a sudden in junior high, and then in high school.
Yeah.
And so now what are you saying as far as you could help me break that pattern?
Yeah. So I just want to make a distinction, if that's okay.
Okay.
It's not that the pattern is triggered. The pattern is always running. Is that it comes into your physical reality in a way that it impacts you. Okay? So it just becomes into physical form. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it comes into your reality in some way. So you're made aware of it on a conscious level. And then it reinforces itself over and over again, especially as we age. Yeah. As we age, the frequency patterns tend to intensify. Okay, because we have more and more of these layers that come in and more wounding, and then it's, like I said, it's self-perpetuating, it's self-reinforcing, because now all of a sudden you start to believe that self-talk of I'm heavy, I suck, whatever, right? So to answer your question before we got to the little distinction is that you can release the pattern. So if you release the patterns of low self-worth, non-deserving, self-loathing, all that sort of stuff, and then all the lineage patterns behind it, okay, which there's a lot, shame, humiliation, like all these different things of what's appropriate, what's not acceptable. What about beauty? Can I be physically attractive? Because for some people there are lineage patterns where you're not allowed to be very visible, and that includes being physically attractive. Well, that's kind of a bummer. Right? Because so then it doesn't matter what you do, it's hard to run and counter that thing, no matter how hard you try. So if you remove that pattern, then all of a sudden things start to shift. So it may not be that you instantly drop 10 pounds the next day because of the frequency work, but what will happen is that for some people, they will start to lose weight really quickly. Other people, what happens is the right diet comes in for them, or not say diet, the way of eating that's most healthy for their body, which allows them to release inflammation, and weight comes in. The coach comes in, whoever can help, the right sport that they never liked athletics, and then all of a sudden they find this one thing, and it's parkour, right? And it's some random racing through all these different obstacle courses, and they're totally obsessed with it now. Or all of a sudden they meet somebody and they turn on to this new kind of eating, and they just think it's the best thing ever, and it's so easy for them to eat this way, and they drop the weight, right? So all these things start to happen as a result of the frequency work. It's not necessarily linear, like frequency work happens, drop 10 pounds. It's like it just starts to happen in this way that's non-linear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me see. I think what I heard is that I, as an individual, should not feel a lot of guilt or shame, because chances are this pattern didn't start just with me.
Exactly.
I mean, this came from elsewhere.
Yes.
But here it is.
Yeah. And the body image thing is often like a symptom. So we don't know where to put our attention of our unease or our dislike of self or our discomfort with self, or something's not quite right. And so what do we fixate on? Oh, well, look, it's here. It happens to be this thing that I happen to be in. And therefore we turn our attention on that. And it's very easy to nitpick. I mean, it's like here all the time. So you can nitpick infinitely on your body. And so the question of how do we come to peace with it, the fastest way to do that is through frequency work.
Oh,
so if you start to release a distortion around it,
yeah,
whatever that distortion happens to be for you, then you can come to peace with it. Because really it is about this acceptance of who you are. And really the peace with the body has to do with, in part, the pattern of accepting one's own brilliance. Because in accepting one's own brilliance, then you can't see anything but this amazing magnificence around you, within you. It is you. And in that, then you drop your expectations around your body. And it also then becomes very easy to want to take care of your body, because it is part of the brilliance and the magnificence that is you. You just want to do things to make yourself feel good, strong, healthy, like vibrant. Yeah. It just becomes that way because it becomes more of a, it rises in its priority level for you. Yeah. It just becomes this thing that you need to do and that you want to do. And it's not about like trying to muscle through it because like you hate this like here and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's not about that. And what's really beautiful is that, it doesn't really matter your body shape. If you feel beautiful, like, or handsome, okay, because I know beautiful is a hard word for men, but if you feel really handsome, you feel like that confidence radiates out from you, and that has to do with confidence of who you are. It has nothing to do, I mean, yes, it can be brought about by the way you look, like for a moment, like, oh, I feel like really awesome in this dress or this suit or this whatever, or this pair of shoes, but that's an external thing. And it's momentary, but if you can switch that so it becomes an internal thing, right, by feeling complete, whole, that creates its own sense of confidence. So it doesn't really matter what you're wearing because you can kind of rock it because you just think, yeah, I am this glory, this magnificence and brilliance. So, I mean, you can wear like the scruffiest clothes, it doesn't matter, and it still looks awesome, right? Because it has to do with your own state of being within.
I think what's so very exciting about what you're talking about is that I think a lot of folks think that, wow, I've got this pattern and it's kind of a lifetime curse. And I guess, that's the way it's going to be. And so to think that I could work with you and actually truly transform who I am. And it starts with frequencies, distortions, and doing the work.
Totally. And what I will say is that you'll start to notice as you do the work, not only yourself, but other people, that you start to pick up, it's not really their bodies that you're reacting to, it's something within them. It's their own sense of, like what you notice. Like, I've met women who are older and heavier, and they are stunning. They're stunning. And people will turn when they walk into the room. Yeah. And you're like, why? What is it about this woman? Yeah. And it's her ease with herself, and it could be a man as well, but it's her ease with herself and her own grace and her own. She's not trying to prove anything to anyone. She just is with herself, and it's like I just am, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying being here, and I'm just sort of radiating this awesomeness. And people find that extraordinarily attractive. It doesn't really matter her package, and in that is her ease and acceptance of herself, her own body. And the thing is, once we get to that point, then it's really fun, because this body is such a gift. It really truly is. And I know we fight against it, a lot of us. I did for a long time. And, trying to be that, the whole thin thing. And I'm not a thin girl. Like, that's not my body type. So for a long time, I was trying to make myself that. And it's once you remove all the distortion pattern on it, you're like, no, actually, this is really cool. And you get to, what's cool is that your definition of beauty just expands. You're like, wow, there's so much beauty in the world and around me. And it's also me. So you get to see this much broader spectrum of that, which is really amazing.
After you lay that out, and the only thought I've got is the fact that probably the greatest gift we could give ourselves is to truly be at peace with ourselves. And so the work that you do gives me that golden opportunity. So thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group. And each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own. Welcome everyone to the Group Frequency Calibration on the Body War. Bringing your attention, please, to the space between your heart and your throat. And as you bring your attention to this space and become very aware of it, we're going to take a single breath together. So inhaling as slowly as you can and holding your breath at the top of your inhale for as long as you possibly can. And whenever you get to the point of your exhale, releasing the air slowly out of your lungs and holding your breath out for as long as you think you can. And notice if you really take yourself to the edge of what you think you can do, or if you come out of it a little early. And notice which is easier for you, to hold your breath in or to hold it out. For those of you with a very long breath, I would recommend you pausing this recording until you complete your breath fully, and then come back in. For the rest of us, bringing our attention between the base of our sternum all the way up to the hollow of your throat. Breathing normally when you arrive here. For those of you who are new, please note I'm working on you at the group and the subgroup level, and that I'll be making noises on my end. So you may hear me exhale sharply, hum, or yawn, even though I'm not tired. And this is just my way of removing distortion patterns at this time. I'm also working more and more in silence as I work with higher and higher frequencies. So just know that if you hear nothing on my end, I'm still working on you. I'm just working in silence. Good. There we go. The mastermind has disgelled. So let's go ahead and ask ourselves the following question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And that question again is, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, sense, feel, or become aware of a brilliance deep, deep within your body that becomes even brighter. Radiates outwards from the core of you into all your cells. Expanding out even further through the pores of your skin.
And on my end, I'm helping to expand your natural bandwidth or capacity to taking higher frequencies from pure source. Essentially expanding your connectivity with pure source. Very good. So if you could bring your attention now, please, to your xiphoid process, which is right at the base of your sternum. So where the bone ends and it becomes a fleshy point that's a bit tender when you press on it, that's your xiphoid process. So bringing your attention here. So this is, depending on the subgroup you're in, the distortion pattern of frustration with, anger with, discomfort with, resistance to your body. Not even your perception of your body, just your body. So if you have trouble becoming still, meditating, or even doing a practice like yoga, which is movement but requires internal stillness, in part it's because of this distortion pattern, because there's no ease with the body. Okay, so let's remove this. And there's within these subgroups an overlapping subgroup where you don't like your body at all. Okay? Either because it causes you pain, or you don't like the way it looks, or whatever it is. Okay? So removing all this. Mm-hmm. Good. So now becoming aware of the space between your belly button and the base of your sternum. Okay. So this is the distortion pattern of low self-worth. And what happens is your mind looks for something to put this on. So you put it on your body. So you have the feeling of low self-worth, but you don't know what to anchor that to. So your mind anchors it to your body. Now, you may not be aware that you're doing this, and a lot of you have been doing this for so long, you just don't really associate those two things as separate. But in any case, let's pull out the distortion pattern. So you don't feel beautiful, you don't feel worthy, you don't feel able to be seen or loved or accepted because of your body or the way your body looks or feels to you. Okay, so you spend a lot of time, if you told me you spent a lot of time trying to make your body conform to something that you think is more acceptable or more beautiful or more desirable or whatever, that wouldn't surprise me. And if you do the other end of the spectrum, where you punish your body by doing things that are detrimental to it, such as eating the wrong things or not moving or whatever it is, because it's like a form of self-abuse or self-loathing, that would not surprise me either. So all of that is wrapped up in this distortion pattern. So hopefully that makes sense. That's the most prevalent subgroup. So let's remove this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now bringing your attention between your belly button all the way to the roof palate of your mouth. Okay. And if you can imagine a center line between these 2 points, please do that and focus on that center line. All right, so this is an abuse sort of or a control pattern where either you abuse self by beating yourself up about the way you look, about when you eat something that you shouldn't and you feel like you've cheated, when you put on 2 pounds, when you're not whatever. You're very, some of you don't feel like you can even go out without, if you're a female, without makeup on or doing your hair or whatnot. So there's a lot of abuse of self here, or self-loathing, or beating oneself up. And if you're male, you're not free of this in terms of what your body looks like, how often you go to the gym, how much muscle you have, how much fat you have, how much hair you have, etc. So there's a lot of self-criticism here. and the abuse of self, which feeds into that pattern we just removed of low self-worth. Okay, so it's kind of a looping thing. So removing this. Good. Now bringing your attention, please, to your heart space. And by that, mean your energetic heart space in the center of your chest and your nipple line. So this is the distortion pattern of sadness. Okay. Or despair, depending what subgroup you're in, that you'll never have ease in your body. It'll always be something that you're unhappy with, or burdened by, or not free of, and or unhappy with. Yeah. So let's remove this so you can have more ease. Good. Now bringing your attention to your solar plexus, between your belly button and the base of your sternum, and work on your pain bodies, which are active right now. You're doing a lot to disrupt what was there before, so it's getting agitated. Really lovely. Okay, so this is a much deeper topic for many of you. So for some of you, this will be enough. You'll reset and be great. For others of you, this is a much deeper issue, and there are 2 deep dives on the website to support you further. One on yo-yo dieting, unhealthy eating, okay, and the other is on body image specifically. So if that resonates with you, those 2 deep dives are there to support you. And I'm going to leave you here in this space for as long as you'd like. And I look forward to working with you on the next GFC.